package, what's the next step of going from benefits to, offering that complete package?
Well, that's a good question. It's A is how much is the employer going to fund? B is how much, when does the benefit start? The package would say a solid package. Let's say I refer to you're going to buy from Nordstrom's, you're going to buy from Kmart. The Nordstrom's package would be day one health, day one dental, vision, life, disability, and the ideal scenario would be maybe it's 100% employer paid. Mm-hmm. And then there's other benefits, and we all subscribe to Google feeds and get articles specific. And another trend is employer flexibility. Hey, can I telecommute? Can I work from home? Another interesting benefit that on the rise is most companies do PTO.
Yep.
Another neat one is unlimited no vacation policy. And what they have found is, and I've had a couple clients, they have a no vacation policy. The only policy is, within your group or within your unit that you cover for me and I cover for Brian, and it's fair and equitable. And most people don't abuse it. So that's a telecommuting is very hot.
Yeah.
The other one is the no vacation policy is another trending one, and they found that people typically don't abuse it. And if people do abuse it, maybe that employee's not right for that company.
They actually found that people tend to take less.
Well, I think Americans in general were the most overworked because or these things are tied to us. So you might say, hey, I'm going to take the kids to Disney. We're going to go for a week, and in between the rides, you're checking your email, checking your text, and so you're indirectly working. Another benefit that I see is, we talked about the telecommuting, we talked about the no vacation policy, some other interesting benefits. This you see on the Fortune 1000 is repayment of student loan debt, and there's a hook to that. So the hook is, like my daughter's going to college next year, and she's going to West Virginia, and let's say she comes out with $50,000 in debt. Well, let's say she gets a job with a large bank. Well, the bank says, you know what? Not only we'll hire her on the ground floor, but we'll hook her by saying, hey, we'll repay, I'm making this up, $20,000 of debt. We'll pay $2,000 a year over 10 years, and that keeps them
in the company. So
that's good.
It keeps that longevity because another big cost is employee turnover. And so think about it. Kevin hires me. He trains me. He spends 6 months of his time on me, and there's that lost time model between you managing and running.
Yep.
And I'm learning, and you're not fully efficient. I'm not fully, and then I decide on 181st day that I don't want to work here anymore, and it kind of all goes down the tubes, and then you hit the reset button. And Wayne's shaking his head. He goes, "Yeah, I know what you're talking about." But if you can get somebody, and you also have to hire based on not only skill level but upside, and there's retention, and boomers have different needs than millennials and Y.
Yep.
True.
So that's another. But even myself selling to employers and then educating employees. Case in point, with my Amazon groups, we do a lot of text messaging, or we use WhatsApp to communicate with drivers about plan changes, open enrollment. I do stuff like texting them links to help them, like PDF filler or Adobe filler online, so they can actually fill out they're done their shift, they're on their break. That demographic doesn't come into the office per se. They're not like ball and chain.
They're on the road.
They're on their own. So every group is a little bit different, and
no, I think let's get into that, because I think that this is just such a really interesting business you've carved out within a business, and you're kind of at the forefront of it, I'd imagine, because the business model is pretty new of the Amazon DSP providers.
Yeah, correct. And so roughly 2 years ago, they rolled out Amazon DSP 2.0. We all saw the white trucks driving around our neighborhood, and that was the 1.0 model.
Okay.
And Amazon got their metrics and got the financials and figured out, okay, we got a good baseline, and then they said we're going to tighten it up. And then tighten it up with the Amazon 2.0. Mm-hmm. And the way it works is you're basically a staffing agency for Amazon. You get carte blanche to the warehouse, you get carte blanche to the trucks. Your overhead cost is fuel, phones, payroll, benefits. But one of the requirements with Amazon was within 90 days of inception, you have to get to 50 employees or 50 drivers. Also,
wow. Wait, you have to go from startup to 50
0
drivers
to 50. Their
in
goal.
90 days.
That's part of their metrics. And they give some leadway. And Newark, New Jersey might be different than Newark, Delaware. So there's different leadways. But one of the requirements was to offer credible health insurance. And, I had, you were talking earlier about referrals. So I had a client that was big in the telecom business, and his partner was big into kids entertainment, like the Moon Bounce business. Mm-hmm. And they merged together, and they both were experienced. So they were very easy to deal with. They both independently owned multiple businesses. I've helped them out in the past, and then they told me about the Amazon thing. And I formulated a plan where Amazon does have a preferred vendor, but the preferred vendor, and not knocking the competition, but they weren't indigenous. They weren't local. They didn't have, feet on the floor, locally, where I did. The other thing is their income requirement, their funding arrangement was set higher, and the employer was very uncomfortable with that cash outlay, that expense, because that could easily blow up their model.
Yep.
Depending on how many people participate. So, I kind of I listened to both these gentlemen that I work with, and what the demographics of the group. These drivers are out on the road all day. They're barely in the warehouse, and they do have the cell phones, and they do use WhatsApp. And so what I did, I created a script where they could text the drivers, "Hey, we're offering, as of March 1st, we're rolling out these 3 plans. Gold, silver, bronze. The employer is going to pay X amount of dollars. The deadline to apply is this. Dignity Insured is going to be available, either at the warehouse, or they have a meeting called a stand-up meeting in the parking lot. So I would attend stand-up meetings at 5:30 in the morning, or go to the warehouse at 8 o'clock at night. The biggest part is chasing down these forms, and it's. There's people that make things happen. There's people that watch things happen. There's people that wonder what happened, and it's the last two groups you're chasing all these forms.
Yeah.
But what I did was I just made it